Hi, we're talking with Alan over here, and he is going to be showing us Aluren.
Alright, so I'm on the pure bug version of Aluren. A lot of previous builds of Aluren have run off of Imperial Recruiter or Recruiter of the Guard, but this version focuses a lot more heavily instead on working a mid-range game plan. It's a bug color deck with the sort of mana base you'd expect from a bug deck, but it still gets to run a few basics lands to prevent it against, or to provide some safety against Wasteland. A lot of the sort of spells you'd expect from a bug deck: Brainstorm's Forces, 3 Ponders, 3 Decays, and obviously instead of the namesake card, Aluren, which allows both players to cast creatures with mana cost 3 or less at instant speed without paying their mana cost. For the creature base, it has the suite of Deathrite, Shaman, Baleful Strix, and Shardless Agent, allowing it to play a very fair, grindy game, very akin to how Shardless plays sometimes, just playing creatures, accumulating advantage, drawing cards. In addition, it's running Leovold, because Leovold is just exceptionally good against dealing with any sort of fair blue deck or any sort of deck with heavy removal. Like, Leovold, just extremely good card in the meta, and it slots in very nicely in this deck. The thing that differentiates Aluren from a lot of other bug decks is the fact that it is a mid-range deck with a combo kill in the form of Aluren plus Cavern Harpy plus Parasitic Strix, where Cavern Harpy, like with Aluren, allows you to essentially get the combo pay 1 life to activate, come into play, or cast ability of any creature, where with Parasitic Strix this leads to a straight combo kill, because Parasitic Strix drains them for 2, pay 1 life to return it with Cavern Harpy, and repeat infinitely. One difference that this build holds over the standard Recruiter builds of the past is that it does play a lot more fair game, where since it's running a set of Cavern Harpies instead of a lot of the previous builds 2 or 1-ofs, a lot of times you end up with Aluren plus Cavern Harpy plus some sort of value creature, where with Shardless Agent it ends up being pay 1 mana to Cascade, or with Baleful Strix it ends up being a Yawgmoth's Bargain, which is pretty good, which usually lets you dig to the Strix. An addition that the bug builds have had is Glitness Crane, which has ended up being surprisingly good. Sometimes Kaladesh Draft Chaff pops its way up into Legacy. Essentially, when you're comboing off, like when you're not comboing off, it can dig for Baleful Strix, Shardless Agent, and Parasitic Strix, which are all completely fine value cards on their own, just helping add to the mid-range creature-based game plan. Where when you're comboing off, it digs 4 cards deep, or when you're looking for Parasitic Strix, it digs 4 cards deep, whereas Shardless Agent can't hit Parasitic Strix, and Baleful Strix only digs 1 card deep per activation, so it lets you more readily find the combo. This deck excels against fair decks, primarily, because it plays a similar game plan to Shardless, except with a sudden combo kill. So sometimes turn 3 or 4, you just win out of nowhere. But against a lot of fair decks, you can just attrition them out. And, like against Miracles and such, you'll end up playing a lot of value creatures, returning them to your hand with Cavern Harpy, and then returning Cavern Harpy if they try to Terminus or something else. So it does give it a lot of game against a lot of the blue Force of Will decks. It is weaker against combo decks than a lot of other similar bug decks, because while it does run Force of Will, it does not have a discard suite main deck, and does not have any other counter spells in the form of Daze or anything else, since you are trying to run on a very mana-heavy game plan. So it's definitely softer to combo than Shardless Bug, but in any sort of very fair metagame, it excels wonderfully.
Okay, what would you say to somebody that's wanting to pick up this deck, like for the first time? Like, what are some suggestions?
Obviously, it takes a lot of learning the interactions and learning how to shortcut on things, because trying to play, like, demonstrating a shortcut with Cavern Harpy is important. Another important thing is when you have a hand with Cavern Harpy and some sort of creature that matters, let's just say Baleful Strix, you play the Cavern Harpy first, which makes the whole combo immune to any sort of disruption through creature killing. For instance, Cavern Harpy, and then with the trigger on the stack, you cast Baleful Strix, let Baleful Strix resolve, or whatever other creature you may cast. Get its ability, Cavern Harpy trigger resolves, return Baleful Strix, then return Cavern Harpy by paying 1 life. Because at this point, there is no point in which they can interact and use a kill spell or anything without you, in response, paying 1 life to return Cavern Harpy, cast Cavern Harpy, return Baleful Strix, and continue the loop, which makes it extremely resilient to any sort of like lightning bolts, abrupt decays, or whatever. Once you do start with Cavern Harpy plus creature plus Aluren.
Okay. Cool. Anything you want to say to everybody?
Not particular. I will say this deck is extremely fun. Like, there are very few things I've enjoyed more in Magic than just spewing out value creature after value creature. I've even had a few games where, like, I've not gotten the Parasitic Strix, but I've gotten just Aluren Cavern Harpy, and then just end of turn, vomited 20 power creatures onto the board through Shardless Agent into Baleful Strix, bounce Shardless Agent, play Gluttonous Crane, dig up another Shardless Agent. So you can just get some utterly ridiculous turns in there, which makes it an utter blast to play.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Alan.